Dallas has just been on a tear. I believe we can attribute that to Jason Robertson. Also, Jake Ottinger, who's really stepped in.
Yeah, so we can compare a rookie QB to a toddler. Hayward's absence for this game will be significant, and I wouldn't be surprised if this game turns into a blowout as of late.
The Golden Knights just can't pull it. I really think the Avalanche are determined this year.
They made so many moves and grabbed so many guys that they have to win a championship or at least make the finals. They were on our championship and bust.
The same self, the only year he won an MVP was the year he cheated, which really should put something against that MVP. But
Yeah, and as a Cowboys fan, I have learned how dangerously good Aaron Rodgers has been with he can just thread a pass.
Hello, I am Ruby Ackerman, and you are listening to Outsider's Opinion with Kevin and Austin.
What's up, y'all? Welcome to our MLB Opinions of the Week. I'm Kevin, and I'm joined by the man ranking all these power. We did this together, but also the Rangers defender on this podcast, Austin.
I wouldn't go so far to say I'm a defender, but I do believe they are higher on this list than you had, and we kind of had to come to an agreement.
Yeah. I'm not panicking over that, but I just think lately I am starting to get a little bit nervous, but they're fine. This is a no expectation season for me.
Yeah.
Next year, on the other hand.
Yeah, let's start at 30.
Yeah. So 30. Let's see if we can go through these pretty quick till we get to like the 20-ish range. We got the Athletics at 30. Pretty self-explanatory. One of the worst teams. And then anything else, Austin?
No, they're very, very bad, and it's obvious that that's what they're trying to do. Unlike the next team, the Royals at 29, the Royals have a lot brighter future. I like Bobby Witt. I like some of their pitching prospects coming up. I like some of their young guys, and they obviously have a vision for the future, even if they are the second worst team in the league right now.
Yeah, I agree. And same thing with the Rockies. They're just like terrible. We'll see what happens, but anything else?
Yeah, the Rockies just refuse to give up on the past. They are a better team than the Royals, and that's what power rankings are. Hey, what team's the best right now comparative to the rest of the season? But I would definitely rather have the Royals roster than the Rockies roster heading into next season.
Yes, I agree. Then we have the White Sox. This is another team. I really like the players. They just haven't really been able to play well this season.
Yeah, and trades have really decimated any chance they had to be a middling team this year, and they've really fallen into that lower echelon of teams.
Yes, and then the next team is a surprising team this season that we've already talked about, and that's the St. Louis Cardinals at 26.
Yeah, we buried them in our last MLB video. If you haven't seen that, please check it out. But they are definitely a team that our predictions will suffer greatly because of our hope in the Cardinals.
Next, we have 25. We have the Pirates. They're just a young team. They started off hot, but it just really hasn't worked out well for them.
Yeah, but they didn't trade all of their guys. Kept Bednar, kept a lot of their younger players, and I'm definitely hyped for next season for them.
Oh, yeah, me too. Another team that was buried. Definitely check out that video. It's fun. We have the Mets, where they have some nice players, but they did trade a lot of their guys at the deadline.
Yeah, and I definitely think the end of the year will be a struggle, but next season I think will be much brighter.
Now we have the Detroit Tigers, and it seemed they've had hints. I'm surprised they didn't get rid of Eduardo Rodriguez at the deadline.
I believe it's because he had a no trade clause and he activated it when they tried to trade him. I'm like 99% sure that's what happened.
Yeah, they did have a deal with the Dodgers. I don't know why he nixed that. That's weird.
I don't know. Maybe he wanted to stay.
Maybe. So the Tigers, I'm not really sure. They have a lot of young guys. They've got new management, general manager or president of baseball ops. So we'll just have to see where it goes.
Yeah, and I can see the vision with the Tigers as well.
And then other team we really dug into the ground was we have them at 22 Yankees. They still have nice players. Of course, you have Aaron Judge, one of the best players in the game, but just really outside of that, pretty rough. But you also have Garrett Cole.
Yeah, Cy Young winner at the moment, and then you also have a player that would probably be in contention for the MVP if he was healthy. And then you have other players, and those other players are really where the Yankees struggle.
And now a team that really started off well before the trade deadline and then failed after it. The LA Angels, they have two of the best players, but both of those guys are injured, or Otani is partially injured because he's not pitching, but it looks like he's still going to hit. But Mike Trout also went back on IR.
I will make a mention here. Some people online have been saying, "Oh, this is the last time Otani pitches." In my opinion, before this season, Otani's always been a better pitcher. What he can do as a pitcher, there's not many people with that pitch mix. There's not many people with that amount of talent pitching, let alone hitting. Otani loses his magic a little bit if he's only a hitter, even though he is such a tremendous hitter. I think his ability to pitch and hit will not only keep him happy, but also he had a 3.14 ERA this season. He has a pitching WAR of 3.9. He can pitch. He will pitch when he gets the opportunity. There's nowhere he's not going anywhere.
Yeah. He could be. I think he could go be different spot, but I don't see him. Maybe I know it would be a second Tommy John, but Walker Bueller is having a second is like recovering from a second Tommy John. It looks like Shane McClanahan may be doing a second Tommy John. So it could be Jacob DeGrom. It's just I think a state of pitching. I don't think your body. It's a sign from the body that you just shouldn't normally do that, but I think he'll be fine. And still, he's a great hitter as well. So, but
yeah, I would be extremely, extremely disappointed if Otani went only to hitting because of how good he is pitching. It's kind of this won't be as big of a drop off, but Micah Parsons only being on the D line this year is what I can compare it to when we know all that Parsons can do defensively. But it's going to be really hard for him to win a Defensive Player of the Year playing as also a middle linebacker sometimes and also a nickel back sometimes and also covering passes. But I do think it kind of lessens his ability to impact the game.
Yeah, and it may stop the historic seasons or something could change. We'll never know, or we'll find out. So 20, we have the Nationals. I'll let you talk a little bit more about that.
Yeah, they're a team that's extremely hot. They just beat the Yankees in a series 2-1. I love the young guys, and they definitely have a bright future. This is another team that's made a quick turnaround after winning a title. I compare the Nationals to the Cavs. They win one title, and then they lose all of their good players, basically. But then they quickly rebound, and it seems like very soon they will have a competitive team again.
Yeah, we'll have to see that. I like that comparison as well. Next, we have Cleveland. They just seem to have been falling. They made some interesting moves at the deadline, or perplexing moves at the deadline. And, it just hasn't worked out for them.
Yeah, Terry Francona is basically a big reason why I have him here. I still think they could go on a run, and because of how weak the division is, I could see something happening. But at 60 and 68, they're still really far out.
Next, we have the San Diego Padres. They have so many great players. They just can't string it together.
Yeah, the Brewers have won, I think, the last two games against them, and the Brewers have won. We'll get to them eventually. But the Padres losing two straight against an NL team, and they just can't seem to figure it out. They'll win some games, lose some games, and they still have a very high plus minus, but that doesn't matter if you're losing.
Yeah, next we have the Minnesota Twins. This is probably the lowest we have a division leader right now, but it's just the type of division they're leading at. And is Joey Gallo starting for them? I know you have a stat from Joey Gallo, but is he just like a bench player for him?
Yeah, he does play a fair amount, and he's playing a lot of first base this season, which I find surprising since the best thing he has at the moment is his defense. So I would still put him out there, even though they do have a lot of outfielders. But sad to bring up, I asked Kevin. Kevin asked about Martin Maldonado's batting average, and I'll just mention it's 180. And then I was basically asking the question to myself and him, who is a higher batting average, him or Joey Gallo? Turns out that they have the same batting average. Both have a 180. And I'm sorry, I don't care how many home runs you're hitting. If you're batting 180, that is horrible.
But what happens if, man, this could actually be a fun conversation. But what does when Martin Maldonado gets his bat on the ball, what's the best case scenario?
I get what you're referring to, but the problem is, at least Martin Maldonado will put it in play more times than Gallo will. Gallo's strikeout rate is extremely high. He already has 134 strikeouts this year in 101 games. I'll check Maldonado extremely quickly. Maldonado only has 110 strikeouts in 93 games, so he strikeouts less, even though both consistently strike out a lot.
Yeah, I love Joey Gallo forever, but it worked out for the Rangers. Didn't work out for the Yankees, but
Yep.
worked out for the Rangers. Zeke Duran, the king. But yeah, so yeah, that's the thing, and yeah, I really like their pitching. It's just their hitting to me is what's it, but they also are in a weak division. But next we can go to the Giants. I really like Patrick Bailey, their catcher.
Yeah, even though he could never fill in the shoes that obviously were left by Buster Posey after he retired, I do like him. They've had a rough stretch recently. They're 4-6 in their last 10, and they've fallen out of a playoff spot. So they're going to have to get it together, but they're half a game out of a playoff spot. So it's not like they're completely lost or anything, but they do have to figure it out because there's a lot of teams very close to them in the race.
Yes. Next, we have the Cincinnati Reds, who are they're only 4 games out from the NL Central Division, but it seems like they've lost a little bit of that magic, but they still have a really good roster.
Yeah, minus 18 differential. They have a losing record against teams above 500, even though it's pretty impressive. 36-37 isn't bad, while the Giants have 37-33. Both teams, though, are half game out, so they're tied right now with the Giants, even though they have one more win. They also have one more loss. Half game out behind the Diamondbacks, who we'll get to eventually. But you're right, they have lost some of that magic, even though they're remaining. I think they'll still finish the year above 500.
Yeah, and that's an incredible season for them. That's why they're right at 15, middle of the pack. But that's a really good sign for them. Next, we have the Miami Marlins, where they're 14, but they're pretty good. I like their pitching, even with Sandy Alcantara having a below year. The hitting is really surprising me.
Yeah. They're 65-63, so they're 2 games back of a wild card spot, but their pitching is definitely improving. Alcantara is having a better second half of the season. I could see them surging here at the end.
Yeah, that could definitely happen. And now we go to 13, where we have the Chicago Cubs. This is a team that made some nice moves in the past free agency. I think getting Dansby Swanson really has helped, and Nico Horner, that's a really nice middle. And I think that experience also helps them with Marcus Stroman and Cody Bellinger.
Yeah, and I'm very excited for how this team is moving into next year, especially if they can bring back some of the guys that they have on expiring contracts. They are currently in a playoff spot. They're not on the edge. They're right above it, half a game above Arizona. So right there, you have 4 teams within 1 game of each other at the apex of the wildcard race. So we'll have to see how that ends up shaking out.
Yes, and that's a great transition with the Diamondbacks. We have them at 12. Zach Gallen, probably, I would take him over Stroman. But the Diamondbacks, I also like their bullpen and the closer they got from the Mariners and Paul Sewald.
Yeah, Sewald's amazing. And we had the D-backs here also because of their recent stretch of games. They've won 5 straight, got themselves back into a wild card spot, even though they're a game or half a game back of the Cubs, who are second in the wild card. But they're also a half a game up on Cincinnati and San Francisco. And they've had impressive wins. That comeback win in extra innings against the Rangers, a game that I watched, was remarkable.
Wow. Yeah, I missed it. It's probably a good thing I missed it. I would not have been happy with the Rangers bullpen. Next, we have the Philadelphia Phillies at 11. You have Bryce Harper doing things. I think Schwarber's starting to hit much more, and he's hitting more bombs. What would you like to say about the Phillies?
Yeah, some people may think this is low, but they're 4-6 in their last 10, and they're definitely faltering. But they are 2.5 games above the cut line for the wild card at where Arizona is. They're 2.5 games above that. But at this rate, they need to start winning games. There's a lot of teams up here that are in a playoff spot and have a losing record in their last 10, which is pretty concerning considering that this is when you need to start playing your best ball.
Yeah, and something that is concerning with me with Schwarber, do you know his batting average off chance? Just ballpark it.
220.
No,
Higher or lower?
lower.
210.
He's not in the 200s.
Just tell me then.
184. So just four
Oh,
more than Martin Maldonado and um,
you were
Joey Gallo.
correct. And I was mentioning about strikeouts. Schwarber leads the league in strikeouts. He leads the NL. And also, he has a negative WAR this season. So definitely not the best season from a guy that they really expected to be much better.
Yeah, especially what he did uh, in the playoffs last year. But I did like how Philadelphia kind of got Trey Turner. He seemed to be getting out of a slump when they did the opposite of what Philly does.
Yeah.
So yeah, and now we go into the 10 where this is the Rangers. I'll talk about this. Also one a little bit higher, but I kind of pushed against it just because of they are on a massive losing streak. And I'm not panicking at all because I think some people are starting to panic, and I'm just like, why? It's a long season. They're still leading the division, but to me, their loss comes from the bullpen and their offense not being as hot. They've also dealt with a lot of injuries. Josh Young is out. Heim is partially back, but he can only hit right-handed hitters. And I think Simeon's probably. I don't think Simeon has had a day off yet, or while they play a game. He's played probably in every single game. The Will Smith is not playing well, and Austin. I know I said this. Remember when they got Chris Stratton? I do want to stand by. I believe Chris Stratton is their best right hand reliever,
Is that
and that
saying much?
yes, yeah. I'm like that. I think is saying a lot because I trust Stratton more. I don't trust Spores, and like Will Smith's a lefty, Chapman's a lefty, but I don't really trust them either. Um, I also don't trust relievers a ton. I think if I could choose Devin Williams to like save my life by getting a save, I would probably go, is there any other option? If I had to go right now, you have to choose a closer right now.
You would not want Devin Williams?
I would want Devin Williams, but I would still be very nervous with
I
him pitching.
I think this is just a how you grew up type of area. The Yankees have had a top 5 bullpen every year of my life. Even this year, I love our bullpen. When our bullpen comes in, I trust our bullpen. We blow games 100%, but our ERA is much lower than that of our starters, and so I just always feel confident in our bullpen. While the Rangers have not had that same success in your lifetime, so I can imagine you guys being up by a lot and losing. We blow probably just as many leads as you guys, but the problem is we are up by 1 run and you guys are up by 8. So when we
Yeah.
blow a lead, it's that guy finally gave up a homer. And yours is a complete blow up of the entire system, while ours is just one guy makes one bad pitch, and sometimes you lose on one bad pitch. But I trust our bullpen all the time, and I would bet my life pretty confidently in Devin Williams or uh, I guess not Camilo Duvall, even though I would have said him earlier. He's blown his last 3 saves, so I would have died like 3 straight times if we did that. But
Yeah. No, but yeah, that's fair. Definitely with the Rangers, I don't think they've ever had a good bullpen. And this year, that was the problem. I think they tried to get more people at the deadline, but it just didn't work. Um, so that's why they're lower here, just because of their losing streak. But they're still leading the division, so it ended up them getting in the top 10. So, and they still have some great players. It's just they're in a bit of a slump. It happens.
yeah,
So now we go to 9 with the Astros. I push, even though the Rangers are above the Astros in the standings, I feel like the Astros have more experience player wise, and I trust they have a better bullpen.
that's not saying much. But
Yep.
I wanted to have the Astros just one higher. In my initial power rankings, I had the Rangers 8, Astros 9, but you wanted Rangers 10, Astros 9. So I guess we had the Astros in the same spot, but you wanted to move the Rangers down. And I understand. I get your point. The Astros are definitely a team struggling right now as well, though. and they'd be much higher if they just went 500 recently.
Yeah, that's something that's kind of worked out for the Rangers is this is probably the better time to do it. It's better not to have it later. Earlier, the Astros probably will have taken the division, but the Astros cannot seem to get a win to take over the division, which is crazy. And this is why Boston is above them because they just beat the Astros twice.
Yeah, they lost the first game of the series, but they won the last two pretty handily. The last game of that series, or at least as we were recording, 17-1, destroyed them. They also swept the Yankees. The Boston did, and they just seem hot. They are winning games at the right time. They are 6-4 in the last 10, won 2 straight. 40. They have a winning record against teams above 500. They're have a plus 45 win differential, and they're closing in. If Houston keeps losing games, a team that's 3.5 games out, Boston, they're in striking range, 3.5 games out, striking range. And because the AL, the bottom of the AL's definitely better than the NL. Like they would be above the Cubs and above Arizona if they were in the NL, but in the AL, it's a lot harder at those bottom levels. But they're in striking distance.
Yeah, and this is a team that we really thought was going to be pretty bad, but they've actually really turned it around. And then the next team is we have the Blue Jays. They, I like Jose Barrios. Alec Manoah hasn't been doing well, but also Kevin Gausman. That's a really nice top of the rotation.
Yeah, they just have a really tough schedule coming up. They're 4-6 in their last 10, and I don't necessarily blame them. They're 5-5 in their last 10. Actually, my fault. But they've lost 2 straight, and they're 38-42 against the teams above 500. So they have a worse record than the Red Sox above 500. But I can't really blame them for their bad record, and that's why they're still above the Astros, above the Rangers, above the Red Sox teams that are right next to them in the standings. But we have them below other teams because of their recent performances.
Yeah, and then 6 we have the Mariners. Even though they are hot, the other teams above them have been more consistent. And even though the teams behind them, or that the Mariners are in front of, have hit some hard times, I love their pitching. It's just their hitting. J-Rod has not been what we saw last year. And they did trade Paul Sewald, and I'm just wondering how would their season look if they didn't trade Paul Sewald?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think they should have kept him, and I hate when they trade guys. I remember when they traded Kendall Graveman. I think it was the year before they made the playoffs, or 2 years ago, and I thought that kind of stunted their growth. And so, I mean, we'll have to see if they're able to cross the threshold and get into the playoffs. At the moment, I think they will, but there's a lot of time between then and now.
Yeah, and I think they could be dangerous, but I just don't know how long they're going to keep this up because this is what I think I expected from them. But their offense is the best player. Well, yeah, Julio Rodriguez, but then actually, or no, I was looking at something else. But to me, it's their what can make them dangerous in the playoffs is their rotation, and it's you have Castillo, you have George Kirby, you have Logan Gilbert. How does that top 3 look or sound?
It's pretty good.
Yeah. And you also have Bryce Miller, and they also have some younger guys. It's just they don't have Paul Sewald, so that's really hurt their bullpen. But really hot start, but compared to these other guys, like the Brewers, they've been consistent, and the Brewers have more consistent pitching.
Yeah, so Brewers at 5. They've won 5 straight, so they're also hot. They're 7-3 in their last 10. They just swept the Rangers a series ago, and they're up 2-0 against Padres in this series. So they've been very impressive, and I'm actually kind of shocked that they entered the top 5 after kind of having a middling start to the year. But they've kind of grabbed hold of the NL Central, and I think they'll pretty easily take it home.
Next, we have the Rays, and despite I'm sure everyone's aware of the Wander Franco story, so we don't really want to talk about that. But they have great pitching as well, and this farm it's just amazing because they've only given out one big contract, and they just keep calling guys up. Even though they also got Shane McClanahan, he got injured, so it's really just the way they're so efficient in developing prospects is crazy.
Yeah, I think an important thing to mention is they've won 4 straight, 7-3 in their last 10, and that's despite all the injuries and all the weird things that have happened all this season. And I definitely still think they're a force that you're going to have to beat in the playoffs if you want to go far.
Yeah, we'll have to see how they do in the playoffs, where that lack of experience could hurt them. Next, we have the Orioles, where I don't like their starting pitching, but they have great relief pitching,
Yeah, and
and they also have great
they
catcher.
just keep winning games.
Mhm.
They consistently can hit 7-3 in the last 10, plus 85 score difference, and they're 42-31 against teams above 500, which is extremely impressive.
Yeah, and they didn't really do anything at the deadline. I don't consider getting um, Jack Flaherty. He, um, yeah, his latest start, he only went 3 innings, gave up 4 hits. He walked 4 people, gave up 7 earned runs in
Yeah,
his
he has a
latest start.
7.07 ERA in Baltimore.
Yeah. Wow, that's in Baltimore. That's crazy. So the one thing they got deadline didn't really work. But yeah, like you said, great team. Then number two, this is a more consistent team and a team I doubted because they didn't have that flashy type of shortstop, but they made it work with the trades they got for Ahmed Rosario. Um, and that's the LA Dodgers. They were once the Brooklyn Dodgers, but the
Yeah,
LA Dodgers
you
now.
were close. You were
Yeah.
60 years off, but
Mhm.
or 70. But the Dodgers are a train that can just not be slowed down, and their ability to consistently put up years where they are extremely proficient is remarkable to me. I just don't understand how they continue to do it.
And you know what's crazy? They traded, I believe I criticized their trades for Lance Lynn, who is not playing well with Chicago White Sox. But ever since then, the least he's gone is 5 innings. And really, the most he's gone 7. Then he went 5, then 6, then 7 in his first start with the Dodgers. And one was against the Padres. But also, he went 7 innings against Milwaukee, and the Dodgers won 1-0.
Yeah, I mean uh, I'm just so impressed by what the Dodgers are able to do, how they're able to turn players that seem like they are done or seem like they are really struggling into a great team. Like you mentioned, Lance Lynn, who had basically his best season of his career with the Rangers, arguably also with the White Sox, but struggled these past 2 seasons and now is great. Kershaw's come back from injury and still has a 2.52 ERA. These guys just are workhorses that just cannot be stopped.
Yeah, I think it goes to show I talked about the efficiency with the Rays. There's an efficiency with the Dodgers, but the Dodgers also have a nice pocketbook more than the Rays.
True.
Just because they've paid Mookie Betts, they got Freddie Freeman, and transitioning to the previous team of Freddie Freeman is the Atlanta Braves. They are so well. They have the NL MVP frontrunner in Acuna. And I'm not sure if they have a huge pocketbook, but they also are really good at developing prospects.
Yeah, developing prospects and obviously trading for players, as we've seen Matt Olson, who's trying to win the home run uh, championship, lead the league and the entire MLB in home runs, which currently I think he has a really good chance of doing because of what's happened with Otani. The Braves are just so well oiled, and the fact that they can consistently go out there and beat the best teams in baseball, 42-26 against teams above 500, which is the best in the MLB, second best being the Orioles, but 7-3 in the last 10. They won two. They've won their last 2 games, plus 214. That's their plus minus. Just
Wow.
not enough words.
Yeah, not enough words. And it's all credit to their major league farm system, the Oakland Athletics, or future Las Vegas Athletics.
That's true.
It's crazy. Sean Murphy looks to be doing well, and they gave up William Contreras, but they're really not feeling it.
Nope.
So let us know what you think. Now we'll have to see what comes to the playoffs when we talk about these teams, but that's coming up soon. Let us know what you think. Let us know if you have any disagreements. We appreciate all the feedback, and thank you for listening to Outsiders Opinions.